Me and another me. I stood in front of the mirror, but the girl staring back wasn't really me. She couldn't be. Her hair was neatly combed and tied with a silk ribbon. Her school uniform was crisp and spotless, the pleats perfectly pressed. Her shoes gleamed like they'd never touched dirt. She looked confident, well-fed, and utterly unfamiliar. I touched my own tangled hair, my fingers catching on knots I hadn't bothered to comb out. My uniform, of the same design as hers, was faded from countless washes, the hem coming loose where I'd tried to mend it myself. My shoes had holes I'd covered with cardboard. Remarkable, isn't it? Mrs. Chen's voice came from behind me. I turned away from the mirror, my heart still racing. The wealthy woman smiled at me kindly, though I still didn't understand why she'd brought me to her mansion. Why she'd asked me to stand in front of this mirror in her daughter's room. I don't understand, I whispered. Sit down, Lily. I have something important to tell you. My name is Lily Zhang, and until 3 hours ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was. I was the girl who sold flowers at the night market to help my mother pay rent. I was the girl who studied under streetlights because we couldn't afford electricity after 8 p.m. I was the girl who wore the same patched dress every weekend and pretended not to notice the stares. But now, sitting in Mrs. Chen's expensive living room, drinking tea from a cup that probably cost more than my mother's monthly wages, I was learning that my story was more complicated than I'd ever imagined. 16 years ago, Mrs. Chen began, her voice shaking, the hospital where you and my daughter were born made a terrible mistake. You were both born on the same night, within minutes of each other. Somehow, the identification bracelets were switched. I stared at her, the words not making sense. What do you mean, switched? You were supposed to come home with me, Lily. And my daughter, the girl I've raised as Melissa Chena, she was supposed to go home with your mother. The teacup slipped from my fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Neither of us moved to clean it up. That's impossible, I breathed. We discovered it 3 weeks ago. Melissa needed a kidney transplant, and when we did the genetic testing, Mrs. Chen's eyes filled with tears. Neither my husband nor I were a match. We weren't even related to her. The hospital investigated, and the truth came out. I don't remember leaving Mrs. Chen's house. I don't remember the walk back to our tiny apartment on the edge of the city, where the buildings leaned together like tired old men. But somehow, I ended up there, standing in our single room that served as bedroom, kitchen, and living space all at once. My mother, the woman I'd called Mama for 16 years, was sewing by candlelight, taking in alterations for the neighbors to earn extra money. Lily, you're home early. Did you sell all the flowers already? I'd left the flower basket at Mrs. Chen's house. I'd forgotten everything the moment she told me the truth. Mama, I said, and my voice cracked. There's something I need to tell you. The next few days were chaos. DNA tests confirmed what Mrs. Chen had discovered. The girl I'd seen in photographs all over her mansion, beautiful, poised Melissa Chena, was biologically my mother's daughter, and I was Mrs. Chen's biological daughter. The Chens were wealthy beyond imagination. Mr. Chen owned a technology company. They lived in a house with 12 rooms. Melissa attended the best private school in the city, took piano lessons, spoke 3 languages. Meanwhile, my mother, my biological mother, worked in a factory. We lived in one room. I attended the overcrowded public school and worked every evening selling flowers. What happens now? I asked Mrs. Chen during our second meeting. Melissa sat beside her, looking as stunned and confused as I felt. This was the first time we'd met face to face, me and this other version of me, the me I was supposed to be. That's up to all of you, Mrs. Chen said carefully. Legally, there are options. But emotionally, she looked at Melissa, then at me. This isn't about laws. This is about family. Melissa and I started meeting in secret, away from the lawyers and the crying mothers and the complicated adults trying to fix an unfixable situation. We'd meet at a small cafe, copyright halfway between our worlds. She wasn't what I expected. She wasn't spoiled or mean. She was just lost. I don't know who I am anymore, she admitted during our third meeting. Everything I thought was true, yeah, my family, my name, my entire life, yeah, it's all based on a mistake. I know the feeling, I said quietly. But it's different for you. Melissa said, and there was no malice in her voice, just honesty. You get to go from poverty to wealth. I'm the one who loses everything. I wanted to argue, but she was partly right. The Chens had made it clear they wanted me in their lives. They wanted to give me everything I'd miss: to the good schools, the opportunities, the comfort. They wanted to make up for 16 years of struggle that should never have been mine. But what about the woman who'd raised me? The woman who wasn't my biological mother but who had sacrificed everything for me? What about the life I'd built, humble as it was? I don't want to trade lives, I said finally. I want to know my biological family. But Mama, Mrs. Zanga, she's my real mother. She's the one who held me when I was sick, who went without food so I could eat, who taught me everything that matters. Melissa looked at me with something like envy. My mother, Mrs. Chena, she loves me. But there was always something missing, some connection we couldn't quite find. Now I know why. The solution, when it came, wasn't simple or perfect. Nothing about this situation could be. Mrs. Chen wanted to help Mrs. Zhang, to somehow repay her for raising the wrong child but raising her with such love. She offered money, a better apartment, a job at one of her husband's companies. Mrs. Zhang, proud and stubborn, refused everything at first. I didn't raise my daughter to be paid off, she said fiercely. She's not your daughter, Mr. Chen said, and I watched my mother's face crumble. She's more my daughter than biology could ever make her, Mrs. Zhang shot back. I was there for every fever, every scraped knee, every nightmare. Where were you? The room fell silent. Finally, Mrs. Chen spoke, her voice gentle. You're right. Lily is your daughter in every way that matters, but she's also mine. Can't she be both? Can't we both love her? It's been 6 months since the truth came out. I live with Mrs. Zhang during the week and visit the Chens on weekends. It's awkward and complicated, and sometimes I feel like I'm being pulled in 2 directions. But I've also gained something unexpected. Melissa, she's not my sister, exactly. But she's not my sister either. We're 2 girls who should have lived each other's lives, connected by an accident of fate. She's teaching me piano. I'm teaching her how to bargain at the night market. We're learning who we might have been, and who we've actually become. The Chens are paying for me to attend Melissa's school now, and Mrs. Zhang finally accepted help with rent and a better job. The 2 mothers circle each other warily, bonded by the daughter they share but divided by everything else. Some days I look in the mirror and still see 2 versions of myself, the girl who grew up poor but loved, and the girl who should have had every advantage. I don't know which one is the real me anymore, but maybe that's okay. Maybe I'm both the girl who knows the value of hard work and the girl who's learning to dream bigger, the girl who is shaped by struggle and the girl who's discovering new possibilities. Me and another me, finally learning to become one whole person. And in the end, maybe that's enough. The end.